welcome to our first episode of Badasses, Alchemists, and Mystics. Bam! So this is Trisha Schmalhofer, and I'm your host for this. And my special, lovely guest is Joanna Salerno, all the way from the west coast of Florida. And I live in Palm Bay, Florida, here on the Space Coast. So we feel the need to do a podcast highlighting and featuring the badasses, alchemists, and mystics in our area. And so I think first, just to tell you a little bit about the show and what we define as a badass first, and chime in whenever you want. But I see
I will.
Yeah, I see a badass as someone that's fearless, that's standing in their power, and they're doing them. They're doing what they do without fear, in the moment, authentically, just doing their thing. And they're changing the community, they're uplifting people, they're shifting consciousness in whatever field they're in. And that's what a badass is to me. Do you want to add anything?
Oh, absolutely. Somebody that knows who they are, what they want to affect change in themselves and in the world. And they're badasses, man.
Yeah.
You always know when you meet a badass.
Yeah. And I think everyone strives to be a badass, you know? And alchemists, you know, alchemy goes back to ancient times. And to me, that's about transmutation. It's turning things into gold, the philosopher's stone. But for each person, that can be healing work. That can be technology, invention. It can be therapists. It can be, we were even talking about bartenders earlier. They're alchemists, right? Because you go to them with your troubles. It could be anyone that's really creating change and transmuting energy. You want to add anything about alchemy?
Alchemy. It's what I do. Anytime you can help alter or shift someone's state, and that just means smile at the checkout person that is checking you out at the grocery store. Alchemy happens when you look into somebody's eyes, share a smile, and be present to them. And all of a sudden, they feel the shift, you feel the shift. And it can be as simple as that, and it can be as complex as having someone on your table as a healer, helping them to shift from a depressed shadow state to one of gratitude and light. So we're going to talk a little bit about ourselves in a little bit, but I'll let you go on with your description.
And I think the last one is mystics, and I think sages and teachers kind of go in this category. So a mystic really is a seeker of the mysteries of life. So a lot of people that are consider themselves as mediums or channels or wisdom seekers, knowledge seekers. It could be an elementary school teacher. It could be writers, pastors and reverends. It can be what else would you say a mystic? It's
anyone who is seeing the world in its glory without seeing the physical manifestation of that. In other words, a mystic is someone who sees the unseen, who hears the unsaid and the unspoken, and someone who is mystically connected to the higher realms, right?
Yes,
and
yes.
So that's part of it too, right?
Higher realms, just other realms. I mean, we get caught up in the higher and lower.
Yeah.
Because even in
other realms.
Yeah,
right.
other realms. Yeah. Because, there's a rise in shamanism right now. You hear about urban shamans and neo-shamans, and that's... They work in all kinds of spiritual realms, and they're really all three, in my opinion. A shaman's a badass, an alchemist, and a mystic.
Absolutely.
And I think we all have that in us to access the different realms for healing, for knowledge. Nature realms can be considered lower realms, but they're very powerful. And I think everyone walking on this planet feels a connection to earth and animals and plants and flowers and the smells and the trees and the mountains. That's all part of mysticism, communicating and finding answers and wisdom in all realms.
And all of it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bam.
Bam. Bam. That's Badasses, Alchemists, and Mystics.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Love your concept, Trisha.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
And so a little bit about us. My name's Trisha Schmalhofer, and I'm a licensed massage therapist by certification, right? But I do a couple different kinds of modalities, just a couple, like a gazillion.
Like a gazillion.
And craniosacral therapy is my main go-to, and we'll talk a little bit about that because Joanna and I have that in common. We have a lot of things in common.
We have a lot.
And Reiki, other types of energy healing, bringing alchemy into my therapy room, and really interested in quantum physics and looking at different dimensional aspects in healing, that we're not just this flesh and blood, even though that's very important, but we have different aspects of us that are existing and playing into our emotional processes, our mental processes. So it's accounting, taking that into account for all types of healing for my client. And I also do Akashic record reading. My modality is soul realignment, and dabbling with some other types, like incorporating art and breath work to help through emotional stuff. Because in this human condition, I think it's the emotional body that gets us hung up a lot. So finding ways to help people to push through that. So I guess we'll talk about our stuff.
We'll talk about our stuff.
Yeah, but tell us about you, Joanna.
Well, my name is Joanna Salerno, and like Trisha, I am a licensed massage therapist whose premier modality is craniosacral therapy, but I'm also a sound healer and an energy touch practitioner and Akashic record reader, consultant, and among other things. But for the past 20 years, I've traveled this path of helping people to transform from and shifting from one state of being that is not conducive to what they would like to achieve in life, or not conducive to how they want to feel in life. And through these different tools in my toolbox, I'm able to help to guide them. I don't fix them. I cannot fix anybody, but I help to guide them to their own sources of self-healing. And it has been the greatest privilege in my life. I'm so honored that my clients trust me with their innermost beings to help them on their particular journey through all of these mediums and modalities. And Trisha and I came together because of our path of craniosacral therapy, and actually met for the first time today in person, although we have been buddies and sisters on the path for a while when we joined a coaching program called Craniosacral Success. And that is being coached by Sharon DeJarlais, who is our wonderful mentor and coach. And so we came together and realized how much we had in common in terms of what our path is, and in terms of what we would like to offer our clients, our most divine clients, you know. And so here we are. Here we are on the Space Coast, meeting for the first time, and not really, because I feel like I've known you ever.
Yeah, you know when you meet someone and it just
Yeah.
clicks. And we've talked on the
Forever.
phone, so many times. But, and I think, it's why I wanted to start this is, Joanna and I are well versed in a lot of these, woo-woo-ish, like out there kind of concepts of interdimensional and quantum physics and alchemy and quantum timelines and past lives and Akashic records. What is this stuff, And some of you may understand that, and some of you, it may be another language, but I really think we're all, no matter what career or field you're in or what belief system you're engaged in, it's all affecting you. And you're a badass, an alchemist, or a mystic, or all three in whatever field you're in. And I wanted to develop some kind of platform where it's all inclusive. And we can talk about some of these out there things, but in a framework or in different frameworks that are easily digested or thought through or contemplated.
Right.
So
bringing some of these concepts to a more grounded reality, some of these concepts that people would say, oh man, that is out there. Really? It's kind of right here. It's kind of right here, not really out there. But some of the language that we speak may not be a mainstream lexicon yet, may not be in the lexicon, but as we were talking, energy wasn't in the mainstream lexicon for many, many, many years, and now everybody talks about energy, vibration, frequency, because we know now that energy is a real thing, right? And we hold it within our bodies. It's all around us. It never dies. It's always either flowing or blocked, and we have to address some of these things. And some of these concepts, maybe you won't be familiar with, but if you kind of open that door a little bit and walk through it, you might find that you resonate with it or not.
Right. Well, it's just like Joanna and I both identify as intuitives. And, someone might hear about intuition and think, whatever that is. But, most people know, I have a gut feeling about something. Or even in some circles, it's like spidey senses. That's kind of the term. Are your spidey senses going off? That's intuition. It's the same thing. It's the same concept. It's just a different word. So same with do you meditate? Do you visualize? Some people are like, I can't clear my brain. Well, can you imagine things? That is a similar thing that you're doing with your brain as visualization. It's just a different name. And we're all able to imagine, So it's just looking at these concepts with different words. So do you want to talk about your latest
endeavor?
Yeah.
I'll talk about my latest. I'll talk about my latest endeavor. This is a CD that just is fresh off the presses.
It's still hot.
It's still hot, right? This is produced by a couple of badass alchemists and mystics. Merlin and his beautiful wife Lainey, who are in Bokelia, have a sound studio called Pharmadelica, and it's in Matlacha. And I was able to collaborate with very gifted and talented mystics, badasses, and it's called Awaken the Spirit. It's 13 tracks of different meditations based on different subjects: love, healing, peace, spirit, freedom, nature drums, expansion, enlightenment, etc. And it is available. It's from Gulf Coast Meditations and produced by Intuitive Wisdom. And if you're interested, I loved collaborating with these badasses. serious badass.
They're all over the place.
And
Badasses are everywhere.
They're everywhere. And this artwork by Jenny Willing, who is so talented and just channels these beautiful colors. She did such a great job, and I'm grateful. I have recorded 3 other meditation CDs, and they've all been fun and they've all been awesome. But this collaboration was and is very special to me. But I want to hear about what you did lately.
You know, I became a Amazon best-selling published author this year, and I did a collaboration. The Beauty of the Authenticity is the name of my anthem, they call it. But Powerful You Publishing is who put this out, and it was a group of 22 women that each contribute a chapter. And it's funny how things work, but I was telling Joanna that my family every year at Christmas sits around and says, hey, what's your word for next year? Mine was authenticity. I wanted to live a more authentic life and just be me, be the badass alchemist mystic that I am. And like 2 weeks later, I get an email from Powerful You Publishing, The Beauty of Authenticity. I'm like, I don't know if that is synchronistic, if that is a message from God, universe, divine. I don't know what is, if that's not. But like you, writing, my chapter is called Spiritual Authenticity, and it's really about connecting to spirit, how I do it, and honoring that everyone does it in a different way, and kind of takes from all their experiences and it encourages to develop your practice and stand in it and say, this is how I connect with spirit, whatever that looks like for you. And working with writing my experience was very challenging because we had like 2,000 words. It's like, how do you fit your whole life in 2,000 words? Well, you don't. So you have to, really coming up with the writing process and helping me like kind of travel through my path of my spiritual path and picking out the steps that really molded who I am today and how I connect with divine energy and other people and nature. And then the book launch, the way that this publisher does it is all of these women are coming together on launch day and just share. It's just the camaraderie, the collaboration and the community, and that we're all really putting ourselves out there.
Absolutely.
And so I'm so proud of it, and just the support that I got, and heck, I'm a best-selling author now. Like, how does that feel?
Woohoo!
Badass, right?
I know.
It's just
totally badass.
I really encourage anyone just to find a medium to express what's inside here, that inner authority of what's going on in here. And that, to me, that's the alchemy. What changes are happening in here, and it could be art or music or writing or speaking, teaching. How are you getting that inner alchemy, that inner transformation and magic out?
Bringing what's in out and bringing what's out in.
and it being and flowing continuously.
With it. Right. Absolutely.
So
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we produced something tangible where sometimes our work produces the intangible,
Yes.
The kind of undefined, the non-defined, and sometimes it's very well defined, but it's interesting. It's interesting to have something that you collaborate with other people and you birth it into the world in such a beautiful way. And whoever it touches, whether they are changed by it or not, right? It's another avenue to express, to just express ourselves. And so expression, I try to encourage my clients to express themselves in all kinds of different ways and find their voice, right? Find their voice.
And, in healing work that we do, sometimes we do get that, thank you so much for helping me. Not that that's why we do it, but it kind of is. We want to be of service to people. We want to help people to transmute and to get into a more open, connected space, without pain, whatever that pain is. But producing something that's coming from within out and releasing it into the world, there was a sense of vulnerability that came with that I wasn't expecting. And that really, for someone to get up on a stage or sing a song or record a meditation, knowing that thousands of people are going to listen to your meditation in your voice, and you're going to guide them through.
Oh, now I'm feeling very vulnerable.
Yes, but it's yeah. But that's where the badassery comes in. It's you got to go through that fear and put yourself out there in whatever your frame is. So
yeah. Well, good for you, Tricia. Good for you. And good for us.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
you want to talk about practical ascension? We were going to dive deep today. We're like, let's just dive into the deep end of the pool on our first.
We're going to dive deep. So everybody, well, not everybody. Okay, so the human race is having the opportunity to ascend within embodied for the first time, or at least the first time in any knowledge, We think about ascension as maybe Jesus ascending 3 days after his crucifixion. But now we are entering into the fifth dimension, where we are going to ascend from the third very dense energy dimension to the fifth. In fact, some people are already living there, right? And so everybody, at least the people in our circle, talk about ascension, ascending into 5D. We're going into 5D. And a lot of people who maybe are not on this path are going, well, what the heck is that? And how do we do that embodied? Well, I was driving here because, from the West Coast, and it's a 3.5-hour drive. So basically I have nothing to do but kind of go into a zone, right? And I'm like, we need to put some groundedness to this ascension process, right? And so I was talking to Tricia, and I said, practical ascension. How do we bring this concept of ascension into this, into the body, into our daily lives, into the mundane of going to work each day, of raising our children, of, keeping up with life? And how do we make that work? So for me, practical ascension is to really realize that we're not separate from the things that we do. We're not separate from our relationships. We're not separate from our jobs. We're not separate. So 5D is not separate from that, And there is practical things that we can do. Shifting out of a negative mindset is one that comes to mind. And really, I haven't even fleshed all of this out, so you're getting this brand new.
I want to just interrupt for a second, and just in layman's terms, just what does 5D even mean? And like you talked about 3D being like the dense dimension, and that is like the dimension we live in, basically, of touching and feeling and the five senses. And here you are, here I am, we're in 3D. Then there's fourth dimension, which is our mental matrix, I call it. That's the mental realm, which I feel that's where a lot of our work is right now, is calming that brain that just won't turn off, right? That's people's biggest complaints when they're talking about meditation.
Right.
It's like, I just can't turn my brain off.
It's very noisy there.
The fourth dimension is very noisy. There's a lot going on there. And then fifth dimension is really the start of spirit, is how I was taught. It's where the Akasha is. It's like, so we both do Akashic records reading, and so that fifth dimension, or 5D, is where that exists. And there's actual space between the dimensions too. I see it as all compressed on top of each other, not this big hierarchical thing. It's more of a vibrational shift as we go through the dimensions. So when I think of 5D ascension, it's really a shift in consciousness. There is a cellular process that's just happening. Just living on this earth, you're getting dragged there anyway. You're getting dragged through the shift if you're not aware of it. So the more awareness and consciousness you can bring into the process, you at least understand what's going on. Because you'll hear ascension sickness. What is that? The rise in post-traumatic stress syndrome, the rise in sensitivity, and there's a lot of physical components to ascension. But I think what I want to get across here is that it's a shift in consciousness, an awareness out of just that we are just what you can see, hear, touch, and feel, that there's a whole nother aspect to us that's in play. And people that are in 5D or headed there, it's more of a spiritual sense of oneness and vibration, rather than and the whole sixth sense, or the gut feeling, the spidey senses and the intuition is heightened, and that's more the driving force than
right. And I think more compassion as well, more heart-centered, like you said, more oneness. And so if we're looking at ourselves as one human family, right? Or I don't want to discount animals in that either, but one human family, then that axiom, or do unto others as you would have them do unto you, really holds true, right? Really holds true. Love your neighbor. We see this outpouring of love for those people in the Bahamas that were just ravaged by Dorian. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about when it comes to that kind of, yes, our brothers and sisters that we don't even know and never will ever meet have been through a horrible trauma. And we're going to gather our forces and our energy and our love and our prayers to help them. Can you even imagine what it would be like if every single person thought like that every single day? And that's not to say that, then everybody goes, well, then you enable this. I'm talking about charity. I'm talking about compassion and love and feeling connected to everyone, right? That, I think, is where we're headed. It doesn't maybe feel like that, but I think that's where we're headed.
Well, that's the thing about shifting consciousness. It's what you focus your attention on is what grows. And so you can look at the news and you can look at all the horrible things that are going on in the world, and then of course that's what you're going to focus on. And I'm not saying don't plug in once in a while to see what's happening, but if you can focus on someone doing a good deed for somebody, or like you said, the cashier at the store smiling at you and you smile, how are you today? Like connect. Going back to connection. Even with the storm, with the hurricane, and looking at weather and stuff, this past one, I don't know about you, but I tap into storms like energetically and send love and try to get the pressure down to diminish it. And this time going in, I could feel like streams of love and compassion, and it was a totally different experience this storm. It was like more and more people were on board with sending positive energy. And so I think talking about practical ascension, so we kind of talked about ascension in this 5D concept, but we wanted to talk about the practicality, because we can talk about the different dimensional aspects and what it's like there and what happens above 5D, what goes on there,
all kinds of cool stuff.
There's all kinds of stuff. But how does this apply to me, to you, to the average Joe and Jane out there. And I think grounding it in the body, because we are in this third dimensional space. That's where our bodies exist. And so it's developing a practice, whatever that looks like for you. It could be jogging every day and then sitting by the ocean and looking at the waves. It could be petting your dog and just connecting. It could be going to a kirtan and listening to music or the singing bowls, or and encouraging you, as someone that's done all of these things and a gazillion and one other things, is experiment. Like you were talking earlier, Joanne, it's like a buffet of different spiritual practices.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Get out there. Don't fear it. Like experiment. Have a little taste. What fits with you to connect and to bring these feelings and vibrations that are out here in here.
Yeah.
Grounding it in the body.
I think that's really true, even if it's, to hug a tree. I lived in Virginia for a short time, and right down the street was a beautiful church with, behind it was this labyrinth that they had built. Nobody was ever at this labyrinth except the fox and the deer, and I would go there and just take it in, walk the labyrinth, take it in, look at the trees, the leaves, and the deer would come and the foxes would come and the squirrels and the birds. I was connected to the whole, right? And that's where I felt connected to the whole, connected to myself, grounding it in by walking the labyrinth, seeing all of and feeling all of the nature around me. And I think about things like that. So simple, right? Sitting under in a park on a bench, breathing in, and breathing out. That's it. It could be as simple as that. Quieting the self, quieting that noise that's in the head. And even if you can't quiet it, it's like
Practice.
recognizing that you are taking yourself out of your hectic schedule to just give yourself that. Maybe it's only 15 minutes of time, to connect to nature, to yourself. So it doesn't have to be hard. A lot of people think, oh God, the spiritual path, and I gotta, do all these disciplines. But practicing while washing the dishes, just mindfulness, right? Mindfulness while folding
the
clothes.
buzzword,
Right.
mindfulness.
Mindfulness while doing the dishes. Mindfulness while folding clothes. Mindfulness while taking a walk around the block instead of having headphones in. Just kind of stop and listen to what's out there. That is the easiest thing that can be incorporated into a daily life.
And authentic self-care is a new word coming out. Like even if you have children running around like playing, and you have to get dinner on the table, or you got to get to the soccer game or whatever, or you have an ill parent that you're caring for and it's around the clock, and all of this, it's taking, even if it's a minute, longer is better, of course, but to breathe and be in that moment, and just finding that time. But even I'm really, for myself, and I'm encouraging others to do this, is having a morning routine, even if you have to get up a little bit early, to have that time for you, that it's you for connection within yourself and to the bigger, higher power concept, whatever that is. And there was a couple things that came up when you were talking. There's just so much juicy stuff. Oh, juicy. I know. Like I was just out at the redwoods out in California.
That's right.
And I hugged some redwoods, and I'll tell you. And then I was up in Mount Shasta area, just the mountains. I mean, if you just getting on top of a mountain and feeling. I mean, I don't think there's anyone on this planet that doesn't feel something when they're on a mountain. If anything, it's just because you climbed that far. And it's like, woohoo, badass. But
Made it.
that feeling of being up and feeling that power. I mean, that's why the pyramids are shaped like they are.
Right.
It's that pointed energy gathering from the earth. But before all of this nature, I was in LA. And talk
different,
about,
right?
Yeah. And, the energy there is such a broad spectrum. Like, we're talking about all these different dimensional aspects. Well, LA pretty much has them all in one little spot. And I had the privilege of doing a healing workshop with my niece, Allison Coates. She's a fantastic producer and graphic designer out there. And all of her friends, and a lot of them are in the entertainment industry. So talk about alchemists, okay? Entertainment, video, music. And they're all young and complaining that it's sucking them dry, and it's the poison, the toxicity of the entertainment industry is the words they were using. And I looked at all of them and I said, you need to shift this shit. Like, you are in a position to shift the energy of in a medium that basically influences the whole world. Because, movies, entertainment. So I was really trying to empower these young people to, be badasses, alchemists, and mystics. And because they all had the gifts, I mean, we all do, to not be the victims of the denser energies and that's keeping them from evolving, to embrace their power and say, I even said to my niece, you need to just start your own company, because right here you have a room full of people that have every position in your company that are complaining. Yeah. So it's everywhere.
And sometimes people just need that idea just to break out of the box that they're in, because when you're in a box, or I call it the box of limitations, where you think there's limits to what you do, but you have somebody that comes in and just plants that little seed there and says, wait a minute, you don't have to be stuck in that box. Guess what? The box opens and you can step out of that box
at any time.
And you can do something wild and courageous and just and be a badass.
That's right.
And,
shifting the shit.
Shifting the shit. Are we allowed to say that on Space Ghost Podcast? I don't know. Jesse's pretty hard taskmaster here.
No, he's totally not. So Jesse's our producer. He's fantastic. But so practical ascension. So that was an example. It's like, what's your career that you're choosing, and how can you shift? Because consciousness is raising, and even people are craving it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so even though you can turn on the TV and see the same old thing, people are just, I just get the sense that there's a cellular part of them that's just waiting for to see evidence of the shifts that they're feeling inside of them.
Right.
So I guess this is a call to action to everyone that's listening. Listen to what is happening inside of you, because it's already happening. Genes are shifting, cells are shifting, and the body's your indicator of, if you're getting that feeling of, I got to do something. I mean, like, the travel bug is happening right now. Right. Everyone I talk to, I want to get an RV and just travel, and I want to do this.
Absolutely. I have so many of my friends right now are overseas. I was looking at Facebook going, okay, she's there, she's somewhere else. I'm like, everybody's getting the call to be more expanded, and sometimes that comes with travel. But even seeing new lands or going someplace different, doesn't that even expand your awareness of what's going on? And sometimes we just need to step out of ourselves a little bit. But I don't know about you, but I'm having clients that are coming in and they present with their dissatisfaction, just like you were talking about your niece, and it starts with uncomfortability, because I always say, when we're uncomfortable, it's our spirit that is trying to get a message to us that it's time to change and grow, right? It's time to evolve. When we're comfortable, there's none of that tension. to grow, right? So being uncomfortable, look at it as a gift. Wow, I'm really uncomfortable. Something has got to give here. And that's a call to listen, do some journaling, go and explore different things, like you said, a crystal bowl meditation, or, any kind of meditation.
Go on a retreat.
Yeah.
Learn something new.
Read a book of poetry, read Rumi, or read an inspiring book, just to shift some of those ideas into some new fresh ideas, because something is trying to get you to recognize and be aware that the state that you're in needs to evolve, right? And that's where the uncomfortable, and it could be your relationships start getting really uncomfortable, or your job starts getting really uncomfortable. There's that tension, and you're not feeling the same way that you used to feel about a person, a place, or a thing, right? You need a new bedspread for your bed. You can't stand the way your bedroom looks. It could be from that base idea to something even more, but it usually starts with being uncomfortable. I know when I get uncomfortable, I'm like, okay, what's going on? What needs to shift? What do I need to shift out of, and how can I do that? And hey guys, it could take a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. For the people that it does happen overnight, they are more than ready to make that shift.
Right. Or if it does seem to be, like they've been working on it. And sometimes it is simply changing the color of your bedspread, because colors have very high, different frequencies. Something's shifting. It might be a color you need, but a lot of times the shift it's kind of that spirit part of yourself that's trying to expand, and you're getting these signals either outside of yourself or inside of yourself that it is time for a shift. And it can happen different for everyone, so just being aware of that. And we talked about expansion, but in the craniosacral therapy we key into craniosacral rhythm, which comes from the central nervous system.
Right.
So when you first feel it, I mean, for me as a practitioner, it took me a little while to feel it. I didn't think I was ever gonna, but when I did, it was like, oh my gosh, this existed the whole time.
Right.
And it's turned into, how we're taught is it's really just the cerebral spinal fluid flow and the pulse that happens when that happens. But as I've worked with this expansion and contraction that happens in the body, I've realized, and we're taught, that it expands well past the skin into the biofield and the electromagnetic field. And I'm finding even further than that.
And further than that.
That I call it the soul breath now in my own way, but it
I like that, Tricia.
Yeah.
I like it.
But this expansion and then contraction is
flexion and extension in
in the
massage speak.
Yes.
Right?
Flexion and extension. Yeah. And so, just like we're talking about feeling that uncomfortableness to expand, it's super important to realize that part of the process is then there's going to be a contraction. And in that vibration or in your life, they may look at, I need to stay home and cocoon a little bit. Because in the contraction, I find, is the integrative piece. You go out in expansion, and you might travel and see the world and visit this culture and try this new thing or take this class, learn this new skill, start listening to a new type of music or meditation, or commit to a new food plan that's more in agreement with your body. Not a fad one, but one that you feel fits your body, because we're all unique in that way too. But that after you are expanding and learning and taking on these new things and shifting, that a contraction will inevitably happen, that you need to integrate and figure out what do I want to keep and what may need to go. What's something that I've always done that's not serving me anymore? And honoring that might be a more restful period, or it might be a quieter time.
And that's what's really practical, is knowing yourself, right?
Yes.
And knowing what you need. That's also what you call authentic self-care,
Yes.
right? Because sometimes you might be going to class after class after class, and then there comes a time where, God, I don't want to go to another class. Yeah, because you need that time to contract, to integrate it, to be quiet maybe, and let it all, everybody calls it the process, right?
Yeah.
Trust the process, because there is a processing time after you experience some new things. I had processing time after every retreat I went on. There was like time where I didn't want to really talk or interact with other people because I needed that process time, right?
And our left brain, that thinking logical brain, is going to tell you, oh, well, you just took off a week for this trip, so get back to work the next day. And then where's the processing time?
Right.
It's that, battling with that part that's like, oh, we got to do, not be. And so if you are in expansive mode, that's a good point. Take a day or two when you come back from the class, or if you're in a whole process of shifting your spiritual practice, give yourself a couple days before you take that next workshop or
Right.
do that new thing. I'm guilty of that. Like a addictive workshop taker.
It can be addictive.
It can.
Because there's a high that comes from being in community with like-minded people,
Yeah.
hearing thoughts that you resonate to,
Having your mind expand,
it can be very, very addicting. But and there needs to be that process point, that integration point, bringing it in and grounding it in, which comes to the practical side of ascension, or practical side of our spiritual work. I want to hear, you know what I really want to hear?
What?
I want to hear about your work with the dolphins just a couple months ago, because
yeah.
she got to do the coolest thing. In craniosacral therapy, they do healing with the dolphins work. And I've never gotten to go. They go to the Bahamas typically.
Yeah,
right?
and the dolphins are okay. I just heard, even though the rest of the Bahamas is not, the dolphins all made it through.
Good,
Yeah.
good. So, so this is something that on my bucket list, perhaps someday. But I would love to hear one of your stories.
And dolphins are. And I think even people that aren't into this galactic thing and interdimensional thing still feel an affinity towards dolphins. And I'll tell you, they are very amazing beings, and they are amazing healers. So with the Upledger Institute, where we studied, we will go to the Bahamas, and we basically have a therapist hold our feet, and we lay out in the water, and the dolphins are allowed to freely swim and interact with us in a healing way. And they do all kinds of things, and they're not being led by their trainers at all. This is all instinctual. They will come up, and they will come beside you and tilt their head, and the little blowhole, they'll make noises.
Oh, that's so cool.
They'll put their rostrum, which is their nose, on a body part. A lot of times it's the head, and when they do that, not only the sound, it sounds like a buzzing, chirping sound, but you can feel the current, the sonar, the vibration running through your body. And everyone reacts differently. I mean, we have children there with different kinds of disabilities, people that have been through all kinds of trauma, especially brain injury. These dolphins, we know their stories going in, but the dolphins will go to the area of damage. They just go
instinctively,
there.
Right? Intuitively. They're very intuitive.
Yes, and they're telepathic, and you basically can say in your head, hey, you can receive messages, and even if you don't have your clairaudience or way to hear spiritually yet, you just feeling, being in their presence, even just being in the water with them, the playfulness, the feeling of oneness was my big message last year, is we're all one, and you just felt it. It was like they see you as family. and they're amazing.
That's so awesome that you got to have that
creatures.
experience. I know I've done aquacranio, which is craniosacral in the water, and so the client is floating on their back, and I'm holding space, doing our craniosacral thing with the rhythm and set and still point, and in the water. They can hear everything, so it's like a rebirthing. So I can't even imagine having a dolphin come up with their sounds and their energy doing that.
And they will send their sonar will go miles.
Wow.
So these dolphins in the Bahamas will get to go in open swims, and they will interact with wild dolphins. And they come back willingly because, they get fed a bunch of times a day and they're cared for,
Right.
But I liked that about this facility is that they do they give them that option to just kind of go. But there'll be the dolphins even in the arena that we're in doing the work. You'll see dolphins from across the thing jumping and doing things. That's contributing
to the energy,
to the healing.
right?
And sometimes they'll swim in, and we'll have like 4 or 6 dolphins in there. And they will kind of shout out, "Oh yeah, the crew's here from Upledger." It's like they have their way.
Come on in.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
And two of the females were pregnant this year, so having
how awesome
2 little baby dolphins in the mix was pretty amazing.
Yeah, one day I'll get there, and I'll go there with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even South Florida, I'm researching places just to go and do open swims with them, and why not? We'll go hold each other's ankles and just see what happens. I have a client we're thinking about trying that. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, maybe we can grab a couple clients and go.
Let's give it a whirl.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here.
Yeah. The dolphins they're very ready to assist humans in Ascension. They're like, "Come on, people, get on board here. It's happening."
It is happening.
So do you have anything to share that's been profound for you?
Oh my goodness, the whole existence has been profound. Yeah, I just want to follow up with with people's commitment maybe to the spiritual path. You don't even have to be all in. You can just start with waking up to a simple what are 3 things you're grateful for. I mean, that is a simple,
gratitude.
beautiful way to transform anything. In our coaching program, we have to choose 2 archetypes that we take, these assessment evaluations to see what archetype that we come. And Tricia and I both have alchemist in our archetype. And I always say, there's one way to transform a negative thought, and that's gratitude. And so, sometimes we're in the place where, everything sucks and there's nothing to be grateful for. But if we just took a moment with our breath and just named 3 things that we're grateful for before our feet even hit the floor, it changes your state. And so in changing your state of mind and changing your state of, the frequency, all of a sudden everything starts lining up. Well, maybe not all of a sudden, maybe it takes some time, but whatever, that is the one way to change from a victim, negative, critical thought form, judgmental thought form, into something very different and very much connected. So changing your state with gratitude, that's my
and
profound statement.
It's very profound, and gratitude puts you in that vibration. And what we said earlier is what you focus on is what you get more of and what you see. So if you start your day with that positive, like, I am so blessed, look at all this I have, that sets the tone for the whole day.
Absolutely.
But I also want to honor, though, that part of this practical ascension process is it doesn't mean to ignore your emotions. Like, yes, the gratitude, the joy, the bliss, the wonderful things, but we are human.
Right.
And
no spiritual bypassing allowed.
no, and that can be a topic for the next one, is spiritual bypassing. You can't cut the line. You can try, but it's not you're gonna have to go back and redo. Because your body won't let you, your emotions, your spirit won't let you. But it can, if you are feeling grief, if you've lost a loved one, that's a really real emotion. You can be angry. Some of us have very stressful jobs, and that's just the career that you're in, and for now. And it's finding ways to go through those, not push them aside, not ignore them, but finding spiritual practices and physical and mental practices where you're addressing these emotions. Like, get out there and run, go swim in the ocean, dance,
Talk
put on
to
music.
a therapist,
right? Go to a professional, go to one of us, go to a mental health counselor. There's a lot of different things out there to help you work through the emotional stuff, because that is part of being a divine human. That's part of being here on this planet, is the emotional body. And I always see it like the ocean, like waves, that you see what waves hitting you, and you let it run through. And art's another, music, playing music, singing, doing art, like painting or drawing, or I'm playing around with this thing I'm coining art catharsis, where you're just like, get paint on your hands, and if you're going through something, just get it out there, get the colors, smear it on there.
I love
like
that.
Get it out of you, right?
Yeah. Recognize that it's in there. Some of us are so used to pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, right? That we're not even allowing ourselves to have emotional. Suck it up, get over it. Man, it's been a week, It's like, we don't honor that grieving time, or that time to really feel our emotions. It's part of what makes us so beautiful, right? Our humanness is so beautiful.
And all the different broad range of emotions we're capable of experiencing, and to feel sadness will help you feel joy even stronger. But not, you don't want to stay in the heavier emotions for too long. Like, you want to be practical and pragmatic about working through them, because you do ultimately want to shift back into gratitude and joy.
Absolutely.
So that's what you're bringing more of that into your life, because that's how it all works in 5D, right? What you're putting out comes back.
That's right.
If I feel like I have to work through an emotion that's not a high vibration, like I'll picture myself, I know this might sound weird, like sometimes people will picture themselves going in like a little bubble. I'll picture myself digging into the ground, because I'm more of a shaman. So, or I have another client that will go into like a room of mirrors. Like, he'll picture that. It's like, I'm containing myself to work through this, but I don't want to put it out there.
Right.
I got to work through this.
I do this meditation for some of my clients, and I kind of borrow the title of Entering the Castle from Carolyn Mace.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, visualize yourself walking through a hallway, and there's doors on each side, and these doors represent times and feelings in your life that maybe you've never opened fully. And allow yourself to open that door, walk through, sit for a while, meet yourself there, meet your inner child there, meet that emotion full on there, whether it's anger, whether it's grief, or whether it's just deep sadness and disappointment. Go into those rooms in that corridor and sit with it until you can come out with a new sense of what that was for, why you had to go through that, or maybe not even those questions will be answered, but you meet it head on, and you love that part of yourself. You love that experience, because you know it is bringing you back home to your true self and your true nature, whatever that is, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's great. I love her, and I like the whole castle visualization. So I think let's take this time, the last few minutes, just to kind of wrap up and
How do we do that?
I don't know.
How do we
I
do
want
that?
us to like share how to get in touch with us. So
Okay.
like do you have a website, email?
Yeah, you can find me on my website, which is easy, joannasalerno.com. I'm also on Facebook and or through Upledger. We both can be found on the Upledger site. And again, I'm in Fort Myers, Florida, and I'm here in Melbourne visiting my beautiful son. It was his birthday. So,
Yay,
and I'm not going to tell you
Jesse.
how old he was because that makes me feel
And I'm Trisha Schmalhofer. Don't worry, you don't have to remember how to spell that last name. It's medhealers with an S.com. Med like medicine, healers.com is my website. And my email is medhealersinfo, like information, info, at gmail.com. And I'm also on Facebook. You can find Med Healers, or you can attempt to spell Schmalhofer. I don't know. He might have it on the screen somewhere. But and if you're interested in the beauty of authenticity, you can email me and I can mail it out to you. I may be doing another book signing locally soon. It's probably time to do that, and I'll give you a personal message in the front of it.
And I guess, Awaken the Spirit. They're going to be digitally available on September 13th. And you can find them on Facebook by going to Intuitive Wisdom, Gulf Coast Meditations, and you can order from there or order from my website. My Facebook page is my name, but my business page is Sacred Listening, Sacred Touch, and you can always find that as well on Facebook. Wow.
Woo-hoo.
I felt like we just did commercials for ourselves.
I know. It's not all the podcasts are going to be that way, by the way.
No.
We just wanted to feature our cool, badass
That's
stuff
right.
that
we
we're
wanted
doing.
to let you know what badasses we really are. We're doing our work and loving the experience of being in these skin suits.
Yeah.
This time around, right?
Yeah, and I want to put out there, I'm looking to do this podcast on a regular basis, and I'm looking for people. I already have a few badass alchemist mystics in mind that I'd like to have on the show, and it'll be kind of like this, maybe a little more interviewee, but definitely just talking about what's going on in whatever field the person's in. So if you have someone in mind that you think would be a good badass for the show, let's get in touch. And I just think talking about these spiritual kind of cool things and bringing them into practicality, into the third dimension is really important right now. So
good.
Yeah.
It was so nice to be here with you, Trisha.
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
you so much, Jessie.
Yes, Jessie.
Thank
Thank
you. Space
you.
Coast Podcast rocks.
Yes, Space Goat Podcast.
Badass.
Woohoo! Bam!